Hey, Cannabruhz and Cannababez, you're stepping into the world of elevated conversations on the Cannabruhz podcast. I'm your host, Jarrell, joined by the one and only dopest EA himself, Corey. And together, we're your guides through the highs and depths of the Cannaverse. Today, we're joined by our special guest host, Kenya Alexander Davis from the Highlight Podcast, a fractional CFO at Green to Green Solutions, as she sits in for Corey. And in this episode, we'll be chopping it up about the latest industry buzz with word on the street, covering why your favorite social media platform is following suit to silence cannabis voices. And we're exploring key steps you should take when shutting down your cannabis business. So join your favorite two names looking to put you on game with difference-making strategies and positive financial guidance. Grab your favorite strain, open your notes app, and kick back for another episode of the Cannabruhz podcast. Yo, what's poppin'? What's poppin', man? Hello to everybody out there in the Cannaverse. You know who it is. It's your favorite host, Jarrell. And you know who I'm with, the dopest... Wait, what? Oh, that's right. I'm tripping. Corey's not even here. All right. Actually, we are joined. Nah, should I really get into it? Y'all really want this intro? All right. We about to give it to you then. All right, here you go. Coming to the stage with unmatched energy, okay, and financial finesse. Let's give it up for our extraordinary guest host for today, sitting in the seat of Corey Millsap, EA, as the owner of Green to Green Solutions and the best kept book of Fractional CFO. She's the financial maestro, helping cannabis business owners turn their profits up to not 10, but 11. With her expertise in maximizing tax deductions, mastering cash management, and maintaining killer vendor relationships. Let's get it started. Our special guest is bringing the financial groove to the cannabis industry. So get ready for this lit conversation that your boy Jarrell is about to have with the one and only, the phenomenal Kenya Alexander Davis. Man, y'all make some noise.
Oh my gosh.
All right.
Wow, what an intro. That was so kind of you to say. I appreciate it. And I'm so excited to be here with you today, Jarrell.
Of course. Man, you know, Kenya, it was just about time. It's only like a matter of time. Once Corey said to me last week that, hey, man, I'm gonna be out the office. So, we're trying to button up all the business stuff. And then he says, I talked to Carter, of course, the producer. Y'all know Carter. Make some noise for Carter real quick. Yeah, man, Carter, I'm talking to Carter and he's like, hey, are we still doing this week's episode? And I was like, you damn right we doing this week's episode. I said, but how should we do it? And at first we were going to make this episode like our typical word on the street episode. On Word on the Street, we just do, we get into just the news and the update stuff. But then I was like, why not have a special guest? And then Carter says to me, hey, you got anybody in mind? And instantly, I don't even know if I took a gulp. I don't know if I took a step. And I'm thinking, oh, Kenya would be perfect for this. Like, why would we not have Kenya?
It's funny because we've been talking about this for a while. And
long time.
We hadn't done it. So I'm so grateful that you would think of me. I'm so just grateful to be in front of your audience. I know you guys have a big and dope audience at Cannabruhz Nation. So I'm just excited to be a part of this. And I appreciate y'all.
Yeah. So, no, we appreciate you. You're doing so much in the industry and stuff. It just felt right. And plus you come from a background like we spoke about in the intro just now, that's so similar to ours. It's like when we talk about the Cannabruhz and the Cannababez of the world, it's cool to have like what we call a representative of the Cannababez actually on the podcast. So you're making us whole with this one. you're making us whole with this
y'all
one.
were the first people I talked to before I decided to get into accounting in the cannabis space.
Yeah.
So y'all have been literally a huge part of my journey from the beginning. And so just to be on this platform, it's an honor.
Oh, that's so real. Look, I can't. Yeah, I can't say anymore, man. We'll go ahead and bless the people, though. We'll go ahead and get into it. So we see, normally we just go right into the episode. But I feel like it's correct for you to just say hello to the Cannabruhz. So, say hello to the Cannabruhz, can you?
Hey, everybody. I'm super excited to be here with Jarrell. We got a vibe-packed show lined up for you, so buckle up and let's get this party started.
Yeah, get the party started. It's your time to shine. If you're feeling the energy today, you got to show us some love. Make sure you hit that subscribe button, give us a like, and spread the word. We're building a movement here, and Kenya's building a movement over at the Highlight Podcast, too, where they can find the Highlight Podcast, Kenya.
Oh, y'all make sure to follow the Highlight Podcast, subscribe to our channel here on YouTube. And yeah, just stay up with the journey. On the Highlight Podcast, we really talk about what we're doing in the cannabis industry and why we're doing it. And we connect people from the cannabis community with the cannabis industry. So y'all be sure to check out the dope people we talk to.
Yeah, they have some really dope guests and all that, and you definitely can find them on social media. And we like to keep the party going on social media. So snap a screenshot, tag us, or let the world know where the real conversations are happening. So we see you, okay? We see you, we appreciate you, and together we're taking this to the next level. So let's do it, Cannabruhz Nation.
All right, you know the drill. We're about to take a quick break, but stick around because we got something special in store for you. And trust me, you don't want to miss it.
Yep, absolutely, Kenya. Stay tuned for a word from our amazing sponsor. You know them, Harvest AF Financial Consulting, where they say we're with you from seed to success. You're in for a treat, and you won't want to miss this, so don't go anywhere. Let's get it.
Ever wondered why, despite careful financial planning, your tax bills seem higher than they should be? The key lies in strategic tax planning, an often overlooked aspect of financial management that can significantly reduce your tax liabilities. Many believe that their tax professionals are actively working to minimize their tax payments all year round. Unfortunately, the reality often centers around compliance, not savings. This changes now with our groundbreaking Seed to Success method. Did you know many taxpayers overpay due to incomplete or incorrect tax filings? Imagine discovering that you could have saved significantly by adjusting just a few entries on your tax returns. Every client, whether new or long-standing, deserves smart tax decisions. With Seed to Success, you'll explore options and make informed choices, potentially reducing your tax liabilities. Ready to elevate your tax planning? Join us now and unlock your financial potential. Ready?
Welcome back, everybody. I hope y'all enjoyed that breather. Now it's time to dive back into the Cannabruhz. We got some real talk and exciting discussions lined up for y'all. You know how we do it. Keep it smooth, keeping it lit.
Yep, absolutely, Kenya. And speaking of smooth, big shout out to our incredible sponsor once again. That's Harvest AF Financial Consulting for keeping the vibes right and supporting business owners. Now, let's get back into the convo with this week's edition of Word on the Street. All right, Kenya, I know you got some topics to bring to the table. So what are we talking about on Word on the Street today?
Yeah, the first topic we are going to hop into, which is big news right now in the industry, is the feds releasing the documents confirming the Schedule 3 recommendation. So as y'all know, we had that recommendation. It's been a while. It's been out a while. But now we're actually able to see an outline of what they sent to the DEA when they recommended that cannabis be moved from Schedule 1 to Schedule 3.
Okay, that's crazy too, because I know here on the Cannabruhz podcast we covered that. So we spoke to the people a little bit about that when the news first broke and when it was just like a hot topic that week. But to this point, we didn't have any of the documents, so we didn't know the details of it. We just knew that there was a recommendation that was made, and that was about it. Basically, just the headline, and we were waiting for something to come out. So what's in these documents? Anything that you're seeing?
So if y'all have time, I have not read through the full document because it's like 243 pages.
Crazy.
But it really outlines all of the medical studies and all of the data that exist that they're sending over in their recommendation of why they should be moving this to Schedule 3. So I've been reading a lot of people's analysis on it and what that means to the cannabis industry. And there's so many just mixed opinions right now.
Yeah, no, absolutely. It's like I'm reading through it a little bit right now, but what I'm seeing is looks like Zorn published the documents. Zorn, including a letter to the DEA Administrator Ann Milligan, in which the Office of the Assistant Secretary of Health writes that marijuana meets the findings for control in Schedule 3. So, I mean, I think it's just doubling down. They really, you wouldn't imagine this being a very simplistic document. So when you said that it was 200 pages, I was like, oh, that's it? Man.
Man, well, and it's really cool to read through because they really talk about the evidence, right? And there's evidence all of like there's postpartum depression. There's just all the uses that they've shown that cannabis can be used for medically. And so, they're trying, and doing this would remove 280E. We know that would help a lot of businesses. But there's the other side of the coin where we just don't know what that means as far as how it's regulated. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah, no, I definitely want to see what happens. I mean, it's kind of hard. It's even funny right now having this conversation because, people in the industry are like, we don't want to have any more conversations until some shit gets passed, right? It's like, nobody's trying to have any. It's like all these, we almost get tired of it. When you talk to like anybody else in the industry, they're like tired of having more conversations about preparation, about about a moment that's yet to happen. Because we've done that for so long. Oh, this state is about to be legalized. And then we're still having a conversation 5 years later. Like, and it's been like that.
It's interesting people get excited about like these documents where it doesn't mean anything. Like no action has been taken. They just keep giving us more information and more information. And like, it's like, what are y'all doing with this information?
Right.
Like y'all got the information already. Why are we still here?
No, exactly. And my thing, when I'm reading through it, I'm like, so what were you trying to prove? Like, how like, I think about it like when your favorite artist is like dealing with their record label and they make a strategic move that they're going to leak their own song. Just, what I'm saying? Just so, I don't know what the purpose of. Sometimes it's to help get out the contract faster or, go ahead and get sued. They got a whole nother record label that's going to cover the bill or whatever, right? And it's like, so I really want to know, like, what was the purpose of releasing the documents? I know I'm seeing here it says public transparency, and it's like, duh. But, prior to this past Friday when these were released, it's like all that had been made public kind of already without the fine detail.
Yeah, like Yes, you're not telling us anything that we didn't know. We know that cannabis is medical. Like it can help. It has medical just support. We don't need a document outlining. We already know, right?
we do already know.
Yeah, now what? Now what?
Yeah, but I mean, we definitely gonna keep an eye out on this. So I mean, even though we feel like releasing the documents wasn't a major headline or major news, the Cannabruhz podcast, and of course, I'm sure the Highlight podcast will be revisiting the topic to ensure that we keep everybody in the loop, because that's the biggest thing. Even the reason why we have our podcast, for the most part, is because there's a lack of information, like a lack of knowledge. People don't know about things. It's kind of like I think about that Boondocks episode when when Granddad is going to jail for smoking weed or whatever, right? And he says to the judge the very first time, "Hey, I don't even know why I'm here. Obama already legalized weed, all right?" and then the judge is like, "No, I'm pretty sure I would have heard about that, but you never know, so let's check it out." And then he pulls up a laptop and he starts going through it. Like, like that's kind of how we feel at times. It's like, I think I know if it's legal or not. But stuff is happening all the time and nobody's really there to talk about it. Like, I'm not sure if I know, you know. So,
it's moving so fast and so slow at the same time. It's like you have to keep up to date with the little changes, but there's not really any major changes being made.
Mm-hmm. No, exactly. That's the best way to put it. Like, it's so much stuff going on, but I don't know. But we definitely will be here to keep you up to date. So make sure that you do subscribe once again to the Highlight Podcast, and y'all already know to keep it locked on the Bruhz. So, yeah.
And going into our next topic for the day, we're going to be talking about LinkedIn. It's now removing cannabis content, supposedly.
That's crazy. Well, okay. Why is LinkedIn? Now, LinkedIn's always been one of those places where you can't, like, LinkedIn was the one last place where you were able to connect with people within the cannabis industry. So what the hell is going on? Like, why are they removing this?
Well, it's crazy because we don't know, right? I don't know if you guys are familiar with Alice Moon. She's a big influencer on LinkedIn for cannabis. Well, she had a post where she promoted a legal THC drink, and her post got removed, and she reached out to LinkedIn to get background on why it was removed. And while they did reply to her and gave her a reason, it just didn't make sense.
What was the reason?
So it was something like the image was there. An image of the legal THC brand was on the post, so it got pulled. But that has been a thing. Like, people have been doing this.
Right. So that's the weird thing, because I don't know if does that mean, like, what's the guidelines on that? Because if you ban her one post or you're just taking stuff down, is this only left up to the platform's discretion, or is it just about things that I know we've talked about can be confusing, like drinks and candy and all kinds of stuff like that may be easily consumed by children or people that's under the age of 21? Like, where's the guidelines? Because now I feel, if you identify that my platform is potentially considered like a cannabis platform or whatever, right? Like, I talk about cannabis, or I state I'm in cannabis extraction, or I'm in, even cannabis finance or ancillary services, maybe you might want to watch it a little bit, and maybe you'll send me an email or something. But where's the guidelines at,
There. I think that's what's unclear. They haven't, and it's not even just Alice whose stuff has gotten taken off. There have been people who've gotten suspended for a week or two from LinkedIn. I don't know if y'all know Daniel Crawford right now. He's not able to be on LinkedIn, and no one knows why. So it's hard to really craft your message out there while staying within the guidelines, because we don't know what we're supposed to be doing.
Right. Exactly. That's the thing. And they do this with cannabis all the time. Every authority, you name it, right? From your state, law enforcement, to, the MED in multiple states, to the federal government. It's always this thing where they come down on cannabis hard first without the understanding, the accountability for what the guidelines are. They never hold the accountability on their end, but they want you to be fully accountable and responsible for everything that you put out, that you say, what you sell. It's kind of crazy. Your free time, your time in the office. It's crazy that these regulations are continuing to spread as we get closer to what we believe is federal legalization. So that's nuts.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. It's ridiculous that even on any social media, if you put the word cannabis, you shadow banned or whatever it is, it's crazy to have to write C with the @ symbol and to do all these little things to get past the censors. It's insane. Let us just talk about this plant, honestly.
Right. And the tough part is, I kind of get why they should have some kind of regulations when you're talking about products. I'm selling you a product, or I'm advertising a product. I kind of understand it, but to your point, like you just said, they're removing content for just mentioning education about the plant. So it's when does it actually stop? And this really kind of brings to mind the fact that we do have platforms, like Fanbase, which is a Black-owned platform, by Isaac Hayes III. We actually got on to Fanbase after seeing some BS happen in recent years, and begin to move some content and stuff and try to create a presence over there as well. So it's like you have to have all these private communities, but I think they know that. They know that if we take you away from the big dogs, the Facebook, all of Meta, Facebook, Instagram, if they take you from LinkedIn, then where are you going to go? You're going to go to smaller platforms where your voice isn't as amplified. And that's when I'm just like, come on, man. Bruh. Chill out.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, but I guess that's the power of being able to really own your data. And just FYI, you guys, they did end up putting Alice's post back up. They came back later and said that it was because she had a link in there that sent people, like you were saying, that sent people directly to the product, right?
Yep.
And so I think that the reason that people have skated by with LinkedIn so long is because it's not a D2C platform. It's really a B2B type of platform where we're just talking about the services we're offering. But now as LinkedIn is becoming more popular and really more content is being put out on LinkedIn, people are coming to try to sell more products to consumers. And so they said it was really that link that got her suspended after the first explanation was the picture, but then they came back randomly and said it was the link. So we just don't know. We don't know. They're changing the rules as it goes. So we'll see.
Keep moving the goalposts. Everybody get your exercise in, because your kicking foot's going to have to be able to kick 100-yarder. Because the way they're moving the goalposts, they continue to do that. And it's crazy that LinkedIn, who in the industry we once viewed as a little bit of an ally, when it comes to the platforms, is they now own that BS too. Sad day. Speaking
of goalposts, our next topic is going to be one that is just ongoing, the hemp versus cannabis battle. Recently, Minnesota is the latest state to really try to address the issue of high THC flower being sold as hemp.
Wow. So they're Minnesota, and we went to Minnesota as well, connected with the people. There's some good folks out there in Minnesota. So we know we got some Cannabruhz supporters out in Minnesota. So shout out to y'all one time. Make sure y'all drop some comments and leave us some love, and we'll leave it back. But this is so to rein in sales of high THC marijuana being sold as legal hemp. I know before I even get into this story, I already know that this is where we start talking about THCA and THCV. Yep. And you know how that goes. It's crazy because, we're really connecting to these businesses. Like, we got an upcoming episode, I believe it'll be next week or the week after, with one of the biggest THCA or the biggest THCA cultivator in the United States. So we're trying to connect to get that information out, but it's tough because we were in Hempire Dispensary in Dallas. So shout out to Boss Lady. We were in Hempire and having this conversation about, like, what is THCA? And when you ask the same people that are selling it or manufacturing, THCA products and things like that, they can't tell you. So I wonder, as I get into this story, like, how much of that is being covered? Because, of course, that's a situation where it's tested while under a certain temperature as, within the guidelines, under that 0.3% Delta 9 dry weight, all that stuff. But when it heats up, it's a different story, and people are like, bro, that's that loud. So, yeah. What is this one really talking about?
It really is talking about exactly that. Like, we know that there's been just this ongoing battle between, like, hemp manufacturers and hemp cultivators and cannabis cultivators, where the cannabis community kind of feels like with these, like THCA, THCV, and all of these other intoxicating cannabinoids, that they're skirting around the state regulated cannabis industry where they shouldn't be. Right. And so they've been trying to close those gaps so that really people are on a more level playing field. And to me, it's crazy because really, I mean, we don't need to be going against each other, right? Like we should be coming together to promote this plant where they just causing a civil war. It's crazy.
Man. No, it definitely causing a civil war. And this makes sense now. I'm kind of letting my mind really dive into this because when we went to Minnesota, it was like perfect timing. They had just had that whole, they had the D8, D9 battle at the same time we were going through it in Texas. And when we got there, they had just they snuck in, I think it was like D9 edibles were now legalized or something like that out there. And yeah, we got to go back. I got to go back to that one, but we definitely covered it on the podcast. And then of course we were like podcasting live from Minnesota. And that was the situation. They snuck it in, through I think it was like a House bill that they had there. And everybody was excited because now they could offer products that previously they were, heavily restricted. And so I knew once they found that loophole, that only pisses off, lawmakers and law enforcement when you find a loophole because they didn't, comb through and continue to comb through the documents that they signed off on. So it was a win. Minnesota was so hype about it. Like, it was like you would have thought that the Vikings won the Super Bowl. You know what I mean? Like, they were... Yeah. They were hyping Minnesota when we got there because it had just happened. I don't even know if it was a full week after that happened. And so, of course, they're going to come cracking down on finding a way to get that back because that's a lot of revenue. Even though we say, hey, you can make your revenue differently, with some proper taxation. But, they like locking folks up for it, so they like shutting down businesses.
Yeah, so I guess the Office of Medical Cannabis in Minnesota is really trying to find a way to close that loophole, especially as their live sales of their state regulated market starts to come on. They're really trying to find a way to just close that loophole. And so we'll see how they do it. I don't know if they have the enforcement that's going to be able to actually go through and start enforcing these rules.
It's like, now we got to call your bluff.
Yeah.
You're like, hey, exactly. Are you really going to do it? Like what's really going on? Because we're going to see about it. We're going to call your bluff and see what it is. But you know what? Here's a little bit of a little conspiracy time. You ready for some conspiracy time? I think,
come on now.
This is what I'm thinking. I think overall we are about to see a lot of states and platforms and everybody that's anti-canna in some way that really don't want the whole federal legalization thing to happen. They're going to be able to flex their power to begin really tightening the grip. And so I think because we're getting close, it's kind of like you have to realize, hey, you're putting extra effort. Imagine if we're playing tug of war, basically, right? And we're playing tug of war with the whole legalization issue. I feel that as we really get ready to win, and fully pull them and, they cross the line and whatever, we're declared the winner and there's federal legalization, but decriminalization first, of course. But when that happens, because we're getting so close, they can feel it. And now it's like, okay, let's just start cheating. You know what I mean? Let's just start applying the force. Let's apply some force this way by any means necessary. And now they're like, imagine you're playing tug of war and now you got somebody from the side that's throwing water or something like that, or trying to put oil on the ground so that it's a little bit tougher for them to get their foot in while they're pulling you. And I think that's what's happening. I think it's like glass half full. So to the Cannabruhz, let's think about it this way. The reason why there's so much fight now is because a lot of our fight, and I shouldn't even say our because it's people that's been fighting well before we got involved. But because that fight is just about won, they're like, we can't get embarrassed like this. You know what I mean? It's certain people that's like, no, we about to, hit you in the mouth after the whistle blows. It's like.
They're like, we can't just let you win.
We can't.
We're just gonna, yep.
We can't. They can't do it. But it's okay. If you actually believe in that, like about people who just really just understand winning, if you are one of those people that moves with what we call that mink mentality, where you're not looking to give up anytime soon, our next advertiser definitely has the way to ensure that you feel welcome to voice your opinion and support the flower that you love. So let's get into it. Hey, Cannabruhz community, it's your favorite two names that put you on game, dropping some exciting news your way. You ready for it? Drum roll, please. Introducing the Cannabruhz Media Patreon community, your VIP pass to exclusive content and some pretty dope perks. Well, why join? You get early access to be the first to vibe with our weekly podcast episodes, exclusive content straight to you where we dive into financial wisdom and where we drop behind the scenes antics from our adventures. Of course, you can find Mink Mentality merch, score exclusive gear where you support the mission. You know we're connecting you with tailored solutions from Harvest AF Financial Consulting with discounts for paid members. Live event discounts where you party with us for less at Cannabruhz events. And also sponsorship opportunities. You get early dibs on becoming a Cannabruhz sponsor and put your brand in the forefront. How to join the other Cannabruhz and Cannababez? Well, just head on over to patreon.com/the Cannabruhz Media. Unlock the perks by choosing your membership tier. Dive into the Cannabruhz experience like never before. Your support matters. By joining, you're planting seeds for a more prosperous cannabis community. Every tier gets you closer to the heart of the Cannabruhz movement. Ready to elevate your Cannabruhz experience? Join now at patreon.com/the Cannabruhz Media. Let's grow together. You are now listening to Cannabruhz. All right. So of course, man, you already know. You heard that handsome young gentleman there, man. If y'all want to be a part of the Cannaverse and everything that comes connected to the Cannabruhz and what we have going on, including Harvest AF Financial Consulting, tips, services, discounts on services, and exclusive Mink Mentality merchandise that's only for our Patreon family. So if you want to be a part of that, go to patreon.com/the Cannabruhz Media. And we greatly appreciate you guys in advance. Yeah. All right. So crazy thing happened like last week, or really it's been a couple weeks since we've been in talks about this. But Kenya, this is with a heavy heart that I go ahead and announce that our very first client, I'm not going to say their name, but our very first client that we had as Harvest AF Financial Consulting officially, they're shutting down their doors.
Oh, no. I'm so sorry to hear that, man.
Yeah. This is a tough business, though. Like, we had that conversation with them, a few days ago or whatever, but it's a tough business. It's extremely cash intensive. And because of things like those regulations that we've covered, even when it comes down to marketing platforms and all that kind of stuff, it makes it so much harder to run a cannabis business, and like, it's like it has to be foolproof. And even if you have a great plan, it's like you have to have a lot of cushion to fall back on, or, within a few years, you could be shut down.
Yeah, it really is happening like throughout the industry in all different types of states where people just can't, their business just can't survive. It's a tough industry and there's not a lot of capital coming in. And so you have to like really, really work so hard to have your business survive right now.
Yeah. But I mean, of course they can't, they reached out to us, other than, working out the whole, hey, money's really tight right now. So that last invoice. But other than that, most importantly, we're like, forget about that last invoice. You guys believed in us as a company in the early stages before all the rest of the calls really came in like that. And we're trying to make sure that they're taken care of, because where they were, or are, I should say, at the time of this recording, is they're trying to figure out, we were asking, are you dissolving the business, or, are you continuing with it? And so when I was preparing, kind of for that meeting that we were going to have with them, I, started, really digging and looking into, everything that we had, at our disposal to be able to help them out in the process. And then, of course, just our experience. But turns out, actually, they're not dissolving their company, but they are like completely changing ownership. The majority of so really, that's really what it ended up being about. But I still thought that it would be very beneficial to come on and give those same key steps that I provided them with and prepared for with their meeting to other cannabis business owners that rock with the Cannabruhz and listen to the podcast. So, first of all, just getting into it, it's a crazy tough time, to be shutting down the business. And it's the start of a year. So when every other business is thinking about, this is our year to take over, you're shutting down if the shoe fits for you and your business right now. But the first thing you want to do is exactly what our clients did, which is inform the relevant parties. Like, you want to make sure that you notify your employees, about the closure, and provide the details regarding their final paychecks, their benefits, and like any other like relevant information. You will also want to notify your customers and your suppliers. So it's tricky with the customers, right? Because you might have done a lot of different things. So, for example, let's say that you were a dispensary, and you have a great customer retention program, and, you send out emails and stuff all the time where they get 10% off, or you're having special Memorial Day sales or anything like that, right? Or maybe it's a punch card system that you got going on. You're going to have to utilize maybe that same email system, the e-blast, and get that out to them to make sure that you have great communication about the closure to your customers. And of course, you're not just closing up the front end of the house, you're closing up the back end. So let's say, for this example again, that you are a dispensary and you're getting your supplies from somewhere. You might want to make sure that you notify your suppliers and address any outstanding transactions, orders, or payments. That's kind of you just figure out where you guys were in your relationship. I know there probably are at times a couple IOUs in there, and so you want to make sure that you address anything that you have on your books. And I know you are familiar with that, though, of course.
Yeah, I think that's a big one, especially in our industry when AR sometimes it be for your AP be looking crazy sometimes,
Yeah.
So making sure, I think that's a huge thing to do, to just maintain that respect for the people who have been helping you in your business, really providing you product, is really just communicate how they gonna get paid.
Yeah, how are they gonna get paid? Right. And how are you going to get paid? Because what if it was something else? And before I get into accounts receivable and payable, even just you could be literally just sitting on tons of inventory. Right. So the next thing you need to do is just inventory assessment. Right. Something that we ask our clients to do all the time is when they send their monthly figures, we need an inventory, we need an updated inventory count. And we need you to do that every single month, because every piece, every gram, has a monetary value to it. And you need to figure out how that impacts your business. So inventory assessment is the next step you want to make sure you take. Take inventory, conduct a physical inventory count of the remaining stock and your assets as well. So your stock of product and everything, your supplies, all that. But then also, your actual assets. I'm not sure if, you own the building and the land, or all that needs to be considered, because you're looking for an accurate valuation of assets, right? You're looking for an accurate valuation of assets to determine the fair market price of those assets. As is, of course, that'll be pretty crucial for like your financial reporting and your potential tax implications, because you want to just button all that up. And just like I said, we ask you every month for this type of stuff. And if your financial service provider isn't asking that, then, they're not fully doing their job, because that, how do they actually know the value of the product each month? So it's really nothing out of the ordinary. Like I know for our clients, there's nothing out of the ordinary, but it will impact the financial reporting and the tax side of the house,
Yeah, and even too, like while we're on the inventory, in our industry, everyone has a seed to sell system. So
exactly.
Making sure that that's accurate, so that you're prepared if you are in an audit in the future, like for this stuff that's already closed up. So making sure that that's buttoned up as well.
Mm-hmm. No, really. Yeah, that's a really good point, though, Kenya. Like, it's a really good point. Like, because everybody, everything is connected anyways with the seed to sell, platforms, or those, everything that you have hooked up to your POS and the whole nine. Everything needs to be taken care of. It's not just simply, cutting off the subscription, and then you get to just close the doors. Yeah, it's not that simple. So it's just like, be a responsible business owner in that sense. But like you were mentioning before, the accounts receivable, the accounts payable, people need to get paid. You need to get paid. Like if your thing is we're shutting down this business, and hey, look, if you got a wife like mine, my wife would be like, okay, you sold the business, so did you get the, where's the money?
Where's the money, right? Like, it's still like, just because I'm shut down, y'all ain't gotta pay me.
Right. No, that those payments definitely need to come at least one last time. So first things first, of course, is collect all the accounts receivable, people that owe you money. Make efforts to collect any of those outstanding accounts receivable, and then send those final invoices to those customers if they still owe you for any product that you may have let run out the door on consignment, or however you operate.
Jarrell, how much in advance do you think that they should be doing that to really be able to follow up on the collection process? Just thinking about that for the Cannabruhz.
No, that's a really good question. I think, really we say as soon as possible. So I will hope when you get notice of it depends on why your business is shutting down. So most times you would have I would hope you have at least 60 days. 60 days, I think, is a decent amount of time. So in a typical cycle, let's say even if I was giving product, maybe I have, a whole a connection. Let's say, I have a connection from my supplier. I guess we're talking about different verticals now, so I'm kind of mixing up the example. But let's just say that, you're passing off product as a cultivation rather than a dispensary, and you're giving that to a distributor and passing off the excise tax and all that other stuff like that. And then they pay you, let's say they pay you from the retail end once this certain amount is sold. Like I've seen different terms worked out in that way. And so I would say that typical cycle is about 30 days. So if you have about 60 days of a notice, I think you can button everything up, because I have seen some instances where I'm giving you 30 days notice that we're shutting down our business, so we need to have it in 30 days. So even if you have it in 60 days, this is a message to any cultivators, maybe manufacturers, or anyone in the cannabis industry despite their vertical. If you have some business with someone going on and you find yourself, counting chickens, but they're really in accounts receivable, then you need to be on top of that, because these type of things happen. Sometimes you might get a notice that you just have to shut down immediately. But if I feel like if you have 60 days, tell them you have 30 days. You know what I mean? So I would say they got 60 days. No, say, hey, we got 30 days before we're shutting down. So we need to have all of this taken care of in that time, or, return the product within the next 10 to 12 days.
Yeah, I think that's a good plan, because if that last 30 days, you don't want to still be working on collecting money.
Exactly. And let's be real. If you tell a person 30 days, you know you ain't getting your money till about...
Right.
I told you we close in 30 days. Why are you, sending me a wire in 45?
It's just day 47. Where is my money?
Where is my money? Okay, right? So that's the thing. Basically, I would just kind of think of it in that way. It's kind of like when you know your friend's always late and you say, hey, what time is, the event? And you know the event is going to be at 7. What do? Tell them 6:15.
Yep.
6:30 if they're kind of late, because then they can actually get there on time. So it's the same thing. You have 60 days till you close. Tell them 30 days you need your money by then. If not, if they know that they're not going to have the money within 30 days, by the next week, they know they're not going to have it. They need to get that product back to you at least, and I would hope they didn't. I don't know. You got to deal with that whole issue there too, because that's pretty tough. But I will hope that you at least could get your product back and then count that in the valuation of your inventory and everything like we just spoke about. But that would be my recommendation, is not to, I wouldn't be fully transparent. You're being honest, but you need everything buttoned up, because in 60 days, you can't really conduct business legally anymore, And then, of course, on the other side, let's say, you're good with receiving payments, but you have some people that you owe. So when you need to settle the accounts payable, but you might want to pay off any of those outstanding debts and settle those account payables. Just notify your creditors of the foreclosure. Or the closure, I say foreclosure. Notify your creditors of the closure so you can handle that piece there, because what's going to happen is if you can't pay it up front, they'll likely, hopefully work with you. Hopefully you have a good relationship and they're willing to wait until you've completely dissolved, everything, and the only thing standing is just the entity itself, because you've already taken care of assets and inventory and everything like that. You're receiving payouts, and that's when you can arrange for them to get their payment. So, yeah.
And I think in that instance, communication is key. Like, you have to be talking, because there are people whose businesses also depend on you if you owe them money. So just communicate and letting them know that you want to pay them and you're figuring it out.
Can you please repeat that again for the irresponsible people?
Listen, they need to know this. They need to know, because the last thing you want to do on your way out is ruin those relationships that you built, right? And so just communicate and over-communicate on when you're going to get them their money, y'all. Get them their money.
Yeah, and then something that we've already hinted at as well is those tax obligations. So as your financial service provider probably already was getting you prepared, let's just pretend that this is happening to you this month. Your tax preparer, or I shouldn't even say tax preparer, your accountant, your bookkeeping service provider, whoever you have over your financials should already have been preparing you for filing taxes for the previous year anyway. So there should be things that are buttoned up if this was happening to you in the first month of the year. So your tax obligations could be handled first by considering that you have to file that final tax return. So you want to complete and file the final business tax return. You want to include the federal, the state, and the local taxes. This is not one of those years where you can be late on filing because you're closing down your business. So this is, if you've never been super accountable about filing taxes and stuff like that on time, this would be the time to finally get it right, and I know, Kenya might be able to point you in the direction of some great service providers that could help you out, if you needed to get that done and you don't have anyone in that seat. Right.
Yeah, y'all got to get that together. Definitely button it up. And yeah, honestly, talk to Harvest AS if you're trying to get them taxes taken care of, honestly. But and on top of that, like you were saying, you have the federal, the state, and the local taxes, but you also have those payroll taxes you need to make sure you wrap up so that your employees are ready to go. because they won't have anyone to reach out to.
They won't have anyone to reach out to. Oh my gosh, that's a great point. Like, think about it. Like, if you leave anyone within your umbrella with questions after you've dissolved a company, first of all, how screwed up is that? That's crazy. The idea of doing that in the first place is just wild. Like, on a moral level, it's morally, or I would say ethically wrong, you know? Like that's kind of crazy. So make sure you take care of your stuff so that your people are taken care of when it comes to those payroll taxes and things like that. And speaking of payroll taxes, you need to make sure that you cancel your business registrations. Like, inform the tax authorities of the business closure and cancel any relevant registrations. Why? Because you typically, if you're in operations, like, they're expecting, you know, a tax. They're expecting to tax something from your operations and what you have going on. So you might want to close it. So it's just super easy where, hey, this is where the business ceased to exist. So it would be impossible for me to owe taxes beyond this date. You know what I'm saying? And so, because then where does it fall back onto? Well, depending on your entity structure, it could fall back on you. And now, you know, like, I don't know what your entity structure was for your business at the time that you faced this closure, but hey, if that falls back on you, then again, your wife, right, or your husband is not going to be too happy, you know?
I think, too, that people get embarrassed that their business is failing, but you have to tell everybody, like, everybody needs to know that your business is done, and it might feel awkward and it might be hard to admit, but, like, everybody needs to be in the loop.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, everybody needs to be in the loop. Ken, you had brought up a point, too, just now about making sure when it comes to the payroll tax and all this other stuff that your employees and everybody else that's under your umbrella is, you know, you're communicating with them, right? But we're talking about tax time. So when it comes to tax obligations, you got to issue those W-2s and those 1099s. Right?
Yeah, absolutely.
You got to issue those. Not really difficult to do. I know we do it for our clients, and we make sure that, you know, they issue all their 1099s. Anything that's over $600 needs, you know, a 1099 issued if that's not legally considered an employee and requires a W-2. So make sure you get those 1099s issued. If you're filing taxes, we say we're filing the final tax return anyways. You're going to need those 1099s issued. So just provide those employees with the W-2 forms if they're a W-2 employee, and report any necessary payments to those independent contractors. Like I said, anything that's at least $600. Anybody that you paid at least $600 in the previous tax year, then you need to make sure that that's addressed and you file those 1099s. You know,
it's funny when you're shutting down your business, things kind of shift from the operations. So now it's just all the paperwork, making sure all that paperwork is right.
All the paperwork, all of the registrations, all the, you know, you're getting your taxes filed, making sure you're sending all the invoices, and also it's about making sure though you prepare those final financial statements. So. Your financial service provider should be able to generate those final financial statements, including the balance sheet, the P&L, your profit and loss statement, of course, to capture the business's financial position at the time of the closure. So you just want to make sure that, you know, you have all that prepared. There's nothing that, and like I said, almost comb through it twice, maybe 3 times, because we have so many clients where 10 months later, they're like, oh, I forgot to mention this one thing. And I never told you about this. And we need to amend, you know, and now they need to amend. But yeah, I mean, all that stuff needs to be considered. But make sure those financial statements, the final financial statements are prepared, balance sheet, P&L statement. Just make sure that all that's ready, because it's not a year that you will want to have to amend, to have to amend those taxes after you dissolve. Like, I'm sorry, we're gonna definitely have to charge you, because that's a whole right? That's a whole nother situation that all of us have to deal with. Your financial service provider, the partners, anybody listed with ownership in the company. It's a lot. And of course, if any employees or independent contractors are impacted by the amendment, they need to be notified as well. And then, of course, because we're talking about financial statements, you always have to consider the accruals and adjustments. So this is something that your financial service provider should be well aware of doing, especially if this is happening to you at this time of the year, right before tax season starts. Make any necessary accruals or adjustments to ensure that the financial statements are accurate and truly reflect the business's financial position. That's just it, you know. And then we also mentioned, of course, while you're canceling those registrations, you got to get ready to close that bank account, right? Yep. The bank accounts and the creditors, closing a bank account. There's steps to that. Close your business bank accounts after all the transactions are reconciled. And this is just one of those things. This one has to be lower on the list simply because, well, all this other stuff needs to be done first. So take care of those things and make sure that there's no money that needs to exchange hands between you and creditors, people that owe you with accounts receivable. Everything's buttoned up with your employees and independent contractors, and you're good to go. And once again, this is another time, like I said, with the creditors, make sure that they're notified. There's no money that needs to be exchanged once you've actually dissolved your business. And last but not least, aside from, those final payroll, the final checks and everything like that, would be to cancel your business licenses and permits. So that one's tough, but cancel the business licenses and permits. I think that's that final nail in the coffin. Yeah. So, make sure you take care of that, do the final payroll, and then you're dissolving. You're officially going into, Secretary of State. You're officially going into dissolving that business entity and ensure that you keep really good record of everything that you're doing. But ultimately, my biggest thing I would tell people during this process is to please consult with your accountants and your attorneys and the people that, help your business actually run and make sure that, legally you're compliant and everything else is taken care of. But throughout this process, make sure you take care of them and that's it. And, wish you the best of luck in your new ventures. That's about it.
And that's a huge thing on the mindset thing. After your business is shut down, that's not the end of what you're going to do. So get excited about what's next and what's coming and all the things that you now have space to do. And just keep reaching for your dreams.
Keep reaching for those dreams. Keep reaching for your... Hey, Kenya, maybe their dream might be to start a podcast one day.
Hey, that was my dream.
That was your dream?
And so I did it.
And you did it. So we're about to talk about... I want to get into it right now. The Highlight Podcast. First of all, y'all make some noise for the Highlight Podcast. Y'all make some noise. Make some noise for the Highlight Podcast. Kenya, first of all, you said it earlier that we had these conversations about, putting your voice out there and letting people know that you're a source of information and financial solutions and all that. And you went ahead and started the Highlight Podcast at the Highlight Podcast on social media. But, in your own words, tell the people about it.
Jarrell, I've been talking about the Highlight Podcast for a minute with you guys. And it was really a challenge to put it out there. I don't really like to talk to people out loud. I'd much rather write a letter, write an email, something where I can get all my thoughts together. So actually creating this podcast was a huge step in my journey of just really learning to use my voice. So the podcast, it's nice because I don't have to talk that much. The podcast is really all about highlighting the stories of cannabis industry professionals who are really aligned with the cannabis community and really are doing dope things to really push the plant forward.
Yeah.
So it's like feel-good stories.
Yeah, definitely feel good stories. I know in your last episode you had, was it Sheena Roberson, right?
Yeah. Sheena is a powerhouse, y'all. Like, me and Sheena, we really just vibed and talked. Sheena's been advocating in the industry for a long time, and she created the Higher Conference for Women of Color. And it's where women of color come together to really be highlighted at a conference, and our needs really get addressed, and we're able to build community. So it really is about, the Highlight Podcast really is about building community.
Yeah. You're doing it. That's crazy. I mean, you spoke to a few different people that, we're definitely, I'm like, oh, those are some notable names. Like, those people have made some really dope strides in the industry. And so really seeing them on your platform is like smiling ear to ear, man. So and
I need to have y'all on because, like, this whole thing y'all are doing with the Seed to Success, like, it's huge, and it really does empower so many people to be a part of this industry. So, I love what y'all do, and I love that I get to just be a part of your network.
Yeah, no, we family now, like Kenya's, you're such a good friend. It's important to have like good friends in the industry when you show up to an event, and if that person's there, now your shoulders are down a little bit, so that part is just so important. And since we connected, it's been nothing but love. So, anything that we could ever help you on, we are proud to do it, but what plans can you share with the Cannabruhz about what's next for the Highlight Podcast? Let them know where they could check you out, all that stuff.
Y'all, right now we are only on YouTube. So this year, like, my first step was just putting it out there, and I've done that, and it's been well received. The next step is to really, blow this up. There's so many stories that need to be highlighted, and a lot of times in the cannabis industry, like, we are focused on everything that's going wrong, but there's so many people who are doing things right and doing things for the right reason. So I'm hoping that in 2024, we just continue to reach more people. I'm going to be putting my podcast on Apple Podcasts and on Spotify. So
let's go.
There. Yeah, so we're expanding a little bit.
Yeah, no, you're expanding. You got to get them on all there. Make sure they have it on iHeart, the whole nine. Like, it's definitely helped our voice as far as being able to give them like other options. Everybody consumes their podcast differently. And another thing I wanted to say too is if you rock with the Cannabruhz, like, and you've been rocking with the Cannabruhz for a few years, you appreciate the game that we give out. You tune it in now every week. Wednesdays at noon. You there. Then make sure you check out the Highlight Podcast. That's at the Highlight Podcast, spelled exactly how your teacher taught you. And make sure you check it out. Show Kenya some love. Drop some comments in there. You ain't even got to mention that, oh, I listened to the Cannabruhz and now I listen to... Nah, just go in there and show Kenya some love. I know you're going to be building some really dope stuff on there, and it's like a tree, right? So these podcasts and these platforms in which we utilize our voices, they spread to become so much more. So check this out. If you're an upcoming Cannabruhz guest, there's no reason why you shouldn't be an upcoming, Highlight Podcast guest, especially if you...
There's no reason. Y'all come on the show.
Yeah, come on the show. You heard her. So tap in. Go head on over to YouTube. You're on YouTube anyways, at the Highlight Podcast. Make sure y'all check them out. And you got that Cannabruhz stamp of approval. Yeah. So, all right. So, one last thing. We always trying to give, like Kenya say, we always trying to highlight. Is there any like brands as we get into this edition of Plug Talk? Is there any brands that you kind of have your mind?
I got some people I definitely want to shout out.
Shout them out.
The first one's going to be Otha Smith over at Tetragram. If you guys have never used Tetragram, it really lets you document your experience with weed and really help you better understand how you can use the plant to like enhance your life medically, and really share that community so that we all know firsthand the effects that cannabis has on our health.
Right. Okay, and where can they check them out again? You got their contact?
Tetragram, the app on Instagram, if I'm not mistaken, or just look up Otha Smith III on LinkedIn. I have an episode with Otha, so y'all can check out that episode on the Highlight Podcast to learn more about what he's doing. The second brand I want to highlight is Michael Diaz-Rivera over at Better Days Delivery. If you guys are ever in Denver, y'all should definitely order your weed through Better Days Delivery. It's a Black-owned business. He is a person who was harmed by the war on drugs and is now making a business in this industry. And he has, he's all about the environment. So all of his vehicles are electrical. He really is just so intentional with the brand that he's building. So if you guys are in Denver, order your weed to be delivered to you. Better Days are on the way, and he'll get it over to you. And you can find him on Instagram at Better Days Delivery. So look that up.
Yeah. Hey, shout out to Michael, by the way. It's been a while since we last spoke, but Corey and I had some conversation with him and trying to get some solutions for his business and everything like that. So shout out to him. I'm glad to know that he's still in this community and still on his journey. So shout out to Michael, man.
Can I highlight one more brand? One more.
Hey, please do. Let's go.
Another one. Carrie Kumba tea. Y'all, this is some CBD tea. You can get it online. It's Carrie Kumba. That's CarryKumba.com. And these teas are just so good. I actually drink the tea every day. She has 3 different brands, and she also has some CBD-infused honey and agave. It's just the intention that she's put behind this brand is incredible. Even just in her, if you've never had CBD tea or have never had an experience, she sends out just educational stuff with her deliveries that tell you about the endocannabinoid system and really just how CBD can work for your health. So Carrie Kumba tea is delicious. Y'all will love it. Very
nice. Hey, well, y'all got to, you heard that straight from Kenya. You heard that straight from the Cannabruhz, and you just got plugged in. Yeah, man. So really quick, I just want to thank you again for hopping on with me, sitting in Corey's seat, and really just chopping it up with the Cannaverse, the Cannabruhz, and the Cannababez out there. This is another person that we truly admire in the industry because she's a go-getter. So Kenya, just while we on air, but we had these conversations all the time. If you ever need anything it's just a one call, one text, one head nod away. So, we'll continue to work together. And so when you see the Cannabruhz, you'll see Kenya. We have to already put that stamp on her. She's a Cannababe, you know what I mean? So, we show so much love and appreciation whenever we can for the Cannababez because without y'all, then the industry would not be where it is. And to know that it's someone like you that's just out there and you started this journey by yourself and just, we say getting it out the mud, really getting it out the mud and doing all the hard work, all the grunt work, but also just loving on the people and loving on the flower. You are definitely appreciated here. You're forever welcome here. And we look forward to having you back on the Cannabruhz podcast. So y'all make sure that you check out the Highlight Podcast at the Highlight Podcast on YouTube. And then, of course, they can reach you where else?
I'm going to be on LinkedIn. I'm on LinkedIn every day. So if you want to know my random thoughts, follow me on LinkedIn because that's really the only place I post these days because I'm focused about the business right now. So I'll be on LinkedIn.
She be on LinkedIn. So hit her up on LinkedIn, Kenya Alexander Davis. And again, thank you and thank y'all for another sit-down discussion and conversation about what's going on in the cannabis industry. Cannabruhz, we got love for you. Peace, love, and light, man. And y'all try to stay warm out here because it's freezing in the D. We'll holler at y'all later.
Cannabruhz, Cannababez, thank you for having me. I appreciate y'all, and thank you for supporting these beautiful brothers who are just really doing a great job in this industry.
For sure. And we out. Peace.